That's the purpose, I think.
Sue, I think you're seeing some. What's that? We're good? Thank you. Okay, welcome everybody to Town of Pompey Planning Board meeting for September 18th, 2023. First thing on the agenda will be standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's myself, I'm Sue Smith, the Planning Board. Introduce our members. To my far right is John Shaheen, Kevin Corson, Secretary Sarah Lejudas, again Sue. To my left is Carl Ferencrug, Lloyd Barnabas, Deb Cook, and Royce Smith, Town Engineer John Dunkel, Town Attorney Jamie Sutton. Next back is the Town Codes Enforcement Officer Tim Barrow, and currently Renee is manning our video feed. Veronica should be joining us shortly on that. First off, we have as far as our minutes, we will address them a little bit later. We're missing a page or two given out, but we'll touch on them a little bit later. First on the agenda is the Perry Real Estate Holdings Broadfield Road subdivision. This is a continued review of an application for subdivision of land located at 7940 Broadfield Road, Manlius, New York, 13104. Tax map number 004.-03-44.1 and 03-49. Representatives are here.
Again, Pat Reynolds with I News and Reynolds representing Steve Perry in this application. Since the last time we were here, we have produced a sketch plan showing the rough layout of the drive and proposed grading to go along with that. We have also gotten copies of the right of way and the land transfer to Apex companies. They have to be executed, but I believe looks like they are and yep. And in that right away, we have in there that any future maintenance costs would be split amongst the three parties. We've also added the requested note on our maps that the easement will not or cannot be turned into public right away in the future.
I guess let's first revisit, make sure everybody's back up to speed that this did go to the town ZBA. Board all remembers that. They approved the 240-foot variances on lots 2 and 3. But they have also gave the suggestion or recommendation that what is on our map is lot 3. Their access, 60-foot access would be off of this proposed shared driveway easement. And that 60-foot that you see on lot 3 would not be used for driveway. I do have a couple comments, just clarification, because the map that will be filed here that says proposed to be removed. Also that it's filed and tagged on. Under your notes, I think possibly the correction because it refers to lot numbers 1 and 2 are not residential building lots. If you look at the map, obviously
correct.
lot one already has a house on it, so we should say lots 2 and 3. Again, the word proposed appears in some of those notes. It should be removed. There's at least 2 times
Okay.
proposed. To take that off. Not sure if this would make more sense or clear, but your last, under the last notes. It currently reads, no public road will be allowed to replace the existing shared drive. Would then again remove proposed ingress, egress, and utility easement. Sure, I'm looking for some help on this one, whether it would be clear just to say the ingress, egress, and utility easement is not a public road and is not built to town standards. I think that would be the right words. Need to repeat that.
No, I'll get. Is that, I'm adding to the note or replacing the note?
You'll delete from no public road all the way through proposed. And it would start with ingress / egress and utility easement. Is not a public road. And is not built to town standards. Guess we want to verify the driveway where your ingress egress would be. Verify that is at least 20 foot wide for to meet fire code standards.
3 will not be.
We're showing it as posing it as a 22-foot drive.
Note that's on lot number 3 will not be allowed a driveway directly up the Broadfield Road and must use the proposed. Something needs to come out of there.
Yeah.
Proposed.
I know, but what am I doing?
Yeah,
wrong?
you're correct.
Right.
There's when we go through these steps, there are errors, and then when we make the final
Okay,
prints,
that's
we
fine.
go through and
I just didn't read.
make
through
sure
it.
that everything's correct.
Grammar police on.
We get somebody else in the office to review it.
What I'm hearing from.
Any other comments from?
I heard you say when you first came out that you were gonna provide that it was gonna be shared expenses or. Let's see that. For the year and a half, but I didn't see it in the one that was provided to me.
Plowing and the upkeep of the,
Right,
because it's not a town road.
but that it was gonna be shared amongst the people.
Right.
And I'm not so sure we really care about that, but if somebody starts complaining, we can say, well, here's your
I
obligation.
just, if we're in the first page, any maintenance shall be agreed to by the grant or grantees. Such cost should be split.
Okay.
equally.
Okay.
From the board. Okay, as listed with subdivision, we need to schedule a public hearing. So that will be, that's fine. Back before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I haven't.
Right, like we directly out on the Broadfield. Create a road point.
We do a low point right before it gets to Broadfield.
Yeah.
and put both sides.
the ditch or the culvert, just
Yeah.
a little lip to keep the water from Flashing right out and,
Okay, makes sense.
Our next scheduled meetings October 16th.
I don't need to be here. You're good with that? I'm fine with that.
Neighbors' addresses. So we-
It's on the letter out again.
It's the zoning board.
There's like 100 and some
Something.
letters though. It was crazy. I mean, some letters were.
It's our town law.
I know, but letters were going to people 2 neighborhoods over that it doesn't even impact. I was just confused and I called for clarification, but it was. I mean, if it's necessary, I was still. It just seemed excessive. I can understand people whose property this touches or even a couple houses away. There was people half mile away in other neighborhoods.
So property owners within 1,000 feet.
500 feet from the property.
all the property.
It was a thousand.
1,000.
Brings in a lot.
Saying.
I get, but we've. He's done this and you look at a deal with social media, you know, like before you pull up the newspaper all the time and read them and how many actually go through online. Notices.
So can I ask what's acceptable proof? Where it got expensive was I did it all certified mail. Got difficult and expensive. Is there a different way that
I'm not sure if our law says certified.
I didn't know how else to prove that I sent?
I think it's receipt, return receipt, so you have a receipt. Yeah.
I don't think that that's necessary as long as you do an affidavit and it shows all the names and that you sent them.
Okay, I mean, if that's a
An
lot easier,
affidavit
that's
will-
acceptable.
Will work.
James.
Maybe that's why the lady at the post office looked at me cross-eyed. Is the affidavit something that you provide to me, or is it something I need to have drawn up?
So it's just real simple. I hereby certify that I've sent them to the following
Okay.
addresses, attach it, have it notarized. You can come to town hall, they'll notarize it here.
Okay,
Don't wanna,
so I can
Talk to
have.
your
it
lawyer.
notarized, That's fine, and I forget who emailed me the. Would you mind sending me that again, please? Thank you.
But he does open himself up if he is challenged.
Um,
On the road, so.
I think we're fine. It's I think it's compliance. Right, I mean, somebody, if
I mean, we're not-
25 people come in and say we never got it, then say. But it would not be considered as, say, a substantial deviance from statute, so I think we're fine.
So it will be just right standard. US standard letter, okay.
Yeah, postcard, right?
Could be.
Okay.
Yes, and I think there's specific verbiage you want in the letter too. Would you mind sending me that again, please? Thank you.
No problem.
Appreciate your time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, are the documents that you've been talking about tonight, are they available on the website?
It should be posted. Mhm. So if we can post it. Okay.
I wouldn't put it. That was that. Yeah. Okay, next on our agenda, Pivot Energy Concept Site Plan Review, the continued site plan review on the proposed construction of a community solar project on Sweet Road. Tax ID 012-01-03.1. It's not here, but he said.
Evening, Attorney Hyde Clark with Young Summer here on behalf of Pivot Energy. Also have Jake and John from Pivot Energy and with EDR, the engineering firm. We were last before you July 17th. This is for a revised site plan by which the planning board would make a recommendation to the town board. The town board would then make a decision on the overlay zoning. And then depending on that decision, we'd be back here for site plan review. At that July meeting, we did go over the updated site plan, answered questions, and there have been no changes since that meeting, but if there are questions, we're here to answer them, but would otherwise ask the board to deliberate and make a recommendation to the town board.
Did have a question, and that referring back to your cover letter. Talking about acknowledging our concerns the last time that you were before us. Number one, shifted the array layout west into existing tree line to reduce the impacts to prime farmland acreage, resulting in reduction of 6.4 acres to soils identified as prime. Can you explain that a little bit more, because
Yeah, so when we were looking at the soil maps, previously with the southern field, I'm gonna call it the southern field there. I think the kind of eastern side of that, right, had more prime soils. And then as you went down the hill into the forested area, the prime soil mapping kind of tapered off as you got into that area. So that was the reduction of moving that array further west, down the hill into the forested area. And that kind of reduced those prime soil overlay with the project footprint.
well. Hopefully. It's. A little bit.
I got it out. I don't know if this one's much better, but at least maybe. Right, so it's the parcel boundary.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Because the soil that you were moving it from being a Honeyville
Yep.
silt loam, which is prime farmland. And then this section here is a lima silt loam.
Yep.
It's still prime farmland soils. And this continues over.
What they may be talking about is something here. That's, if LNC is of statewide importance, it's not prime.
Right, not prime, and you're when you look at the total acreage coverage though,
Yeah,
you're still.
I think the other piece was in addition to shifting it,
Mhm.
we also removed that portion, right? Constricted the array a little, and then also pushed it up into this section.
Mhm.
So it moved into some of these.
This one is still,
Still prime, yeah, but I think we moved some of
it's
this,
just a little bit,
yeah,
that's the only thing there, but it doesn't matter whether it's forestry or even, it's still the soils.
yeah, but I think we were able to,
Conservative.
yeah. So by removing the array in this section here and using some of that other land, that's where the reduction occurred. Still. Because we take this soil data, take the limited disturbance project footprint, and GIS just clip the soil data out.
Mhm.
Kept it acreage, so not trying to pull them over.
Now, knowing that your point of your pictures, the points,
Yeah,
you showed and so on, that basically you took one spot, went here, one spot here. I would like to see like from here looking across. And at the outer extremes.
Yeah.
Looking across instead of just the middle. Looking across, I would like to see,
okay,
as I traverse the road along to the south. That's your view shed down and across there,
Okay.
more so than in the middle, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Looking each way.
And so what is it that you want to see? I couldn't hear you.
Photograph
from
the corners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, instead of in the middle, you
Yeah,
know, each way, I would like to see that same actual picture and theoretical from the corners looking across. That's you know, for
From the
myself,
southwest corner, the southeast corner?
yeah, kind of in each
well,
direction,
Well-
you know, as you're coming to the site, right?
yeah,
So either traveling,
from Sweet Road.
right, but traveling
South.
northbound or southbound on Sweet Road, looking as you approach the site, once you get to it.
Yeah.
What's that first view look like? That's
Yeah.
kind of-
Yeah, because the topography does change. Yeah, right.
Here, just from a process standpoint, that's something you'd be looking for if we were to come back from a visual screen question.
For me, it comes down, well, that would enter into the view shed because this, almost the entire parcel lies within our master plan's picture of the view shed that we're supposed to be protecting. See it on that?
Yep.
That's, for me personally, that's, I gotta have a justification to get past that part too.
Prior to making a recommendation.
That's my opinion.
Ours kind of. Sent the view shed down a long time ago. See them.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, any issue is mitigatable from a view shed standpoint. Even from up near Heritage Hill.
We did originally do a simulation from Heritage Hill, and just given the distance and the intervening vegetation between, there's no visibility from up there to the project.
I think you can see that north field.
The top field.
But again, you're talking a 10-foot array, a screening plan should make it mitigatable in my mind.
So what's the maximum height of the panels?
So I think for the view shed arrays, we use 12 feet, but what we're seeing on other pivot projects built in New York is closer to 10 feet or less. And that's at, you know, early in the morning or late at night when they're at full tilt. But, you know, for the rest of the day, they're sloping away from that height, right, or sloping back.
So the maximum they could be is 12 feet at a new point in time.
Kind of above current surface elevation.
So what is the total amount of acreage that's being affected? I think we had talked about this before. How much is Ray? How much of it is the area that's affected?
So like during construction or following construction, what's fenced off?
When it's fully fenced off, I know there was some discussion.
21.1 acres
Yeah.
out of 95.5 acres, 22% coverage. In the first page of their.
I didn't
application.
know, we were talking about the how they had changed the, I guess, the layout here. I didn't know if the acreage had changed.
Not significantly. No.
So is that photograph something you need before we can go further, Sue, or do we go out and take a bird's eye view? You're getting a call. That's
Somebody was bound to get it.
yes. First world problems.
Yeah, to me, we want to see screen.
And we do have the, so we could grab that.
Just from the applicant's perspective, because we've been here a few months and it's still a lengthy process, we would ask that the additional screening or visual be considered during site plan review process, or something we can also bring to the town board at the public hearing. That would be our request.
I agree. We gotta see this again anyway, so, right? Yeah.
Last time around, you had one access point, this time two, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Reason for two now?
That's because by splitting up the arrays, we need access to both the inverters. So instead of running additional road through the site, this is actually from the public meeting, after the public meeting, we talked about this last time. This landowner had requested the road be shifted north, kind of place the existing access point here and come in there. So that's the kind of justification for the two, still to have that access point to the inverters, but without running as much road all around and through the site, kind of reduces the earthwork and that sort of stuff. Project.
And access is only for service and emergency purposes, so even with having two access points, we're not talking about a lot of vehicular travel, so really it's reducing the ground disturbance.
It gives first responder access a little better.
Quick, direct, right to the inverters if needed.
So what's the expected time that you're gonna have the panels in operation? Are you expecting to change them? As technology improves, what's the recycling plan for that?
Yeah, so. And then we talked about the recycling plan quite a bit, you know, kind of last time around that, you know, there's some stuff in development now, right? The technology is still fairly new. Seeing projects, you know, going through full decommissioning, at least in the Northeast, but all the material that's in it is mostly recyclable. It's glass, metal, silica, and then the wiring and stuff inside of it is all copper, so.
So who is responsible for the recycling right now? Does it have to go back to the manufacturer? How is it managed?
Yeah, I'll speak a little bit. John Shields with Pivot. Great question. We're seeing all kinds, that same question from many different directions. It's not usually back to the manufacturer. It's usually a third party that are coming online, that are kind of seeing an opportunity here to provide recycling services. Realizing that this just puts off the recycling, I do want to mention one program that we've had. We're investigating is actually taking our panels, which become not obsolete, but they become less efficient than what we want to continue to operate them at, and literally shipping them across seas, and other countries are utilizing these panels that are 60, 70, 75%. But I realize that just kind of puts off, eventually they need to be recycled. So I'm not trying to evade the question, just
No,
mentioning.
but as the technology for the panels changes, so does our recycling technology.
Right, I think that's what you're getting at.
25 years from now, and your panels are not,
right?
right.
Ideally, the business, the market's gonna find a way to fill that need. But I know that's kind of evading the question. So I just wanted to, we don't know what the answer is yet, but.
But I think the key is the material that's in the panels is all recyclable material, right? It's stuff that we're currently recycling, just not in a square form, right? For aluminum cans and that sort of stuff. So it's kind of, it's more of the process to break them apart safely and just, disseminate the materials.
Well, my concern is that they're saying right now, there's a Harvard Business Review study that came in. And they're saying that the amount of the materials that are being generated due to the fact that people are, upgrading and things like that, but 50 times their projections. And so the concern is who's going to be responsible for recycling? And I think in Europe, we're saying that's the manufacturer. And the States really hasn't decided yet. So my concern is, do you know what's going to happen with them? We definitely don't want it to be, we don't want, for example, if you go out of business, then who's responsible?
Well, we know it won't be.
That's the easy question, right?
Yeah, that's a simple.
Yeah, I know.
That's decommissioning that'll be posted with the town.
Yeah,
So if it's no more,
yeah.
you know, the town, the landowner usually are on the decommissioning bond. So there's full assurance that all the material will be removed and all that sort of stuff. That's the easy one. The hypothetical of, you know, what do you do with the panels in 10, 20, 30 years? You know, that's kind of a.
Is that
I'm not
technology,
trying to use my crystal ball on that one, but yeah.
the recycling technology, I mean, we're tearing up the asphalt road and recycling it. Never did that before. Tearing the concrete up and recycling the rebar and the concrete that we never did that before. So that technology changes.
Just of note too, there is a company up in Liverpool that accepts panels for recycling. I can't remember the name, but I did call them and talk to them at one of them. He confirmed that in fact they do accept panels.
Right. But we're talking 25 years from now.
Right. But I'm just saying, you know, it's there.
Yes.
Right. Technology.
No, and it's local currency.
Yeah.
The decommissioning is gonna be more of a town board function anyways, isn't it? Because they have to determine how big a bond has to be posted.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is, yeah.
Well, the issue is, it's taken down, and we have a lot of inflation. You put a 30 million.
Well, that's a town
But
board.
there is a clause.
Yes,
built in the
I
decommissioning
would
bond
argue-
that escalate the cost and reevaluate for. You know, all the material costs, salvage costs, you know, inflation, that sort of stuff. So that way it's never. The town's not in a place. where they're
Correct.
Pulling the bag.
All bonds are like that.
Yeah.
I'd say decommissioning in general, what I've seen, it seems woefully low. but Just an opinion.
When it gets to that point, I'm sure that I'll be working with the town board on decommissioning, so I'll make sure that the costs escalate up to reflect. Inflation and costs in 25 years, it's all built into a typical decommissioning plan.
Yeah, it's a good point, sir. The town engineer is always involved in, you know, the decommissioning plan. So, which is good.
And some of the jurisdictions we work in, some will give credit not only towards, you know, recycling, but actual salvage value, saying that there's a value to it. Every, you know, different municipalities have different opinions on that. Different engineers have different opinions on the way that gets, you know, those numbers get crunched, but you know, some of there's potential arguments say there's actually value to that. That's scrap. Yeah. Great question, great point. That's 25 years in the future and at least somebody will automate it by then.
Absolutely.
The automation of it can be done by hand, but it's inefficient.
As I remember too, in the law, there's a requirement for an independent evaluation every 5 years, I think. Of the bond amount to determine whether or not it's adequate.
Amy,
It's a one-sided kind of thing, it's not a.
is that true?
What's the question?
Is there a review required every 5 years on the bond amount, whether it's adequate or not?
No,
I don't think so.
I think there is in our law.
in your law, in our law?
Not yet. All of ours.
There's a lot of John.
There is.
There is?
There is.
Who does that review?
The town picks the evaluator at the cost of the company.
Because I'm looking for the laws.
What is that?
But then,
That'd be interesting, I guess, to know how that operates. It to be on.
And these are all,
Never been there with any project, yet, so.
Never review them, it's like, that sounds like. The town code enforcement officer shall have the report updated every 5 years. By an independent engineer or expert at the expense of the system. Or
for like compliance or,
You're familiar with Eggen Markets, they talk about that.
during construction, having an on-site agricultural monitor and environmental monitor. So, well, but ER does that work themselves, you know, but it's ultimately Pivot's decision of, you know, usually it's baked into the EPC, so environmental or engineering, big permit and construction contractor. So hire a company to do final civil design, site design. For all the requirements and the, you know, ultimate, you know, permit. They get there, you know, and then. They'll hire. But independent third party monitor, that's required. At the minimum, I think you have to have a. Committed on this project following the. Farm Ag Markets solar guidelines, right? For construction, and part of that is having a certified agricultural monitor. On site, sometimes those are, you know, Ag Market signs off, it can be the same person, especially on a project this size, pretty small. Not too difficult, so.
Who's, if this goes through outside of the fence? What's left of the land between that and the road? Who's responsible for the upkeep of that?
So my understanding is that the landowner intends to continue to farm that land. But, you know, that can either be. Ideally, it's the landowner's decision on what he wants to do with his property right now. He wants to maintain it. There are some specific concerns. Those are things that could get added as site permit conditions,
I
you
would
know?
offer that to make it easier on the landowner to continue farming. I realize the reason to move driveway in the middle, but then you just chopped it up and made it two smaller pieces.
Yeah,
That
so what we,
agriculture is trying to work, that it becomes really tougher for the size of machinery.
But that's, but that,
for a road like
that
that.
burden would be on the landowner. That would be his burden. I mean, he's the one getting,
Right, but he's
setting this up and agreeing with where it is. So if his machine doesn't fit, that's his issue, not theirs.
But there's other things that can be done. The road can be built at grade. So that way the landowner can pass over it with their equipment, lift the plow, go over, drop the plow. Keep going.
Right, but if it's not on your property, if it's on his property and it's outside the fence line, I find it hard to.
I mean, ultimately,
It would be
it's
their-
still his property, all of it.
All of it is
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
but you're
I'm just
paying
The
for the rental,
portion that.
you're leasing it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right, you're leasing that, so you have.
But to your
Right,
concern of,
that's-
you know, does that become too small for him to farm? And there's ways to mitigate around that. Again, as we get to the permit conditions, we get.
We don't want
you
to
know.
end up with a landlocked piece of land either. So there's got to be access to it.
the access off the road.
Yeah, he's got access.
It's just building that road, you know, as flush as it can be, depending on the grades, to allow movement across there.
But you're not gonna have any agreement what he can put there. I mean, what if he wants to grow a bunch of fast growing trees? Like the light.
Well, fortunately, the rays to the west of him, so the sun's in our favor on that one.
Yeah, I'm just having a difficult time with the question because it is the landowner that's. The question is to be on his land. He knows what you're drawing and where you're putting it. And I really think that burden is on his shoulders, not ours, to mitigate his issues with access and farming and whatnot. It's not like we're forcing this onto this farmer's land.
Yeah.
He's bringing it to his property. So any of that access and farming really should be his burden, and not the applicant's burden from my perspective.
And we did, you know, we did consult with Ag Markets, right? We provided that in the cover letter. The planning board here, you know, and they had concurred that.
Which is. I get what they're saying, that it doesn't bother the other. Agriculture in the area and so on. Again, it's still prime farm soils that are taken out. That's. And Ag Market says you should avoid it. So it kind of seems a little contradictory. From them, but.
But that was all taken into account when we wrote this law.
Yeah. Yep.
And.
And I would point out too that 20 acres is less than 1/10% of the quality farmland in the top properties.
Which already keeps disappearing and trying to keep your foods local. So there's pluses and minuses on both sides.
I mean, we're building houses on prime
That's-
land too.
But the other thing, you know, we did talk about. Feels like it was last month, but it was 2 months ago, was, you know, that if it's putting a portion of agricultural land, right, into an easement for the life of this project. So that way. If the landowner wants to go to subdivide another chunk of his land and, you know, reduce his farming footprint and that sort of stuff, there's still a chunk of land that's equal to this project that'll maintain in perpetuity for the life of this project and agriculture.
Anyway. Roy, Deb, Dan, got anything?
We're listening.
Questions?
No questions.
So, but the big question, I guess, for you, Sue, was if with the town law, we're complying with the town law as it relates to the prime soils.
Well, this is just a recommendation, right? So recommendation to allow this overlay district to go in place. Like right now, there's no place in the town where you can have solar until this planning board recommends it and the town board puts it in place. So it's a whole way to get it. So the recommendation would be that this is an appropriate place for the tier 3 solar. And there was a previous finding that this was not, and made based upon view shed, based upon the prime soils. And I think I had sent that to everyone to refresh your recollection of what had happened last time. So I think the question is there anything here that would change your mind about this?
Well, farmers are also being impacted by climate change, and this is something that we're trying to do to mitigate some climate change. So I know there's some orchards here locally that won't have you can pick because of the damage from that late frost we had. And so that's what globally and nationally we are trying to do to help our environment. So I just want to throw that in, that we should be part of that as a town surrounding us are doing it. We're a town that hasn't done it yet, so.
Well, the other thing as well is with climate change and the intention to move away from certain fertilizers and things like that, you're gonna need more farmland in the future, not less, to produce the same amount of food. So you got two things working against each other.
I don't know if that's factual. I mean, organic farming has been going on for quite a while now, and I don't know how much extra land it requires. I don't have that statistics or data in front of me. But as John said, this 20-acre solar array, we've done housing tracts on prime soil much larger than that.
I think it's worth pointing out too, that, I mean, Jamie brought up the last time we looked at this. But even at that point, we pointed out that they did meet the criteria outlined in our law.
Absolutely.
And we were essentially raising the bar over and above our law by saying that we didn't like the idea that it was prime farmland. They were using less than 50% of the prime farmland, which they still are. They've taken out about 5 to 6 acres, representing about 25% to a lesser quality soil than prime farmland. And they've set aside another 20 acres as an agricultural easement for the life of the project. So
Almost above and beyond what we're asking in our law. Why did we put the law together? If we weren't going to allow this to happen in our town, that was the whole purpose of going through that process of putting a solar law.
Yeah, I understand that.
and I think as Kevin pointed out, I mean, view shed, it is mitigatable, and that ship has kind of sailed with those towers in the background of that view shed. I mean, to say it's a special view shed, yeah, you can see the towers back there, the Doppler radar dome. I mean, you know, it's like I said, that ship has kind of sailed, and this is mitigatable.
Correct.
You can put screening in where you will not see the arrays. That'll be all part of the site plan approval process.
And to kind of add to, you know, the change from last time, right, just memorialize that aspect on the soils, we covered that, and on the visual, you know, this time around, included a lot more screening, a different mixture, a heavier row, you know, evergreens at planting, you know, a larger height at install to try to mitigate, you know, the immediate views from neighboring properties, and then also, you know, willing to put, you know, more vegetation in where it makes sense to try to, you know, to reduce and minimize those.
Well, I point out too, that we'll have a shot at that.
Where I was trying to get to is, if you read the comprehensive plan, they talk about the dramatic reduction in the amount of farmland. Obviously, this is a small piece of that. Are you advocating in general that housing be stopped?
Well, that's the point. Should we?
Right.
If you're saying that using less than 0.1% to do this project of the prime farm, of the quality soils in the town, if that's a concern, should we stop building housing developments?
Or should we increase density?
What's that?
Or
Should we
increase density,
increase
but the
density?
houses closer
That's
together.
what I need to put people in houses.
Right.
And there's already a serious affordability issue.
I mean, again, when this law was written, all these things were taken into account. We were charged with making this an allowable use under certain conditions, if those conditions were met.
And I'd like to see the statistics on how much farmland in Pompey has not been farmed for how many years.
Well, and that was another question I wanted to ask as well. Is a lot of the land isn't farmed.
Correct.
But there's nothing in the comprehensive plan about whether the land is farmed or not farmed. It just has, the guidelines that are in there. So there's quite a bit to interpret here on what should or shouldn't be done and what's appropriate or what's not appropriate. I don't think it's very black and white.
Well, we did take into consideration the master plan when we did the solar law. That was part of our decision-making process. So we looked at the master plan and that was taken into account to develop. We didn't say, let's just say no solar. That would have been an easy committee to serve on, just no solar. And that's not what came out of it. Nor is that what we should be doing.
Can I just ask a question? So the changes that would possibly make this a different decision than before is that there's a reduction in the farm soils impacted. There's a movement of the arrays to not substantially affect the view shed.
Increased screening.
No, increased screening, it's still in the view shed.
Right, but it helps as far as that southern array is set much further back to the west.
Okay.
But the northern. And my concern is the northern one.
The screening will make it harder to see the antennas.
But by putting up the screening, like wintertime when there's no leaves on, that's when you have a
Except for
nicer
evergreens.
view.
So that's why we use the screening plan has a.
I know, but as it stands right now.
Right.
Like it's scrub line, the hedgerow of the road. And as you go south, the northern field, to me, has a greater view shed from the road and down across the valley. And you see that when we don't have foliage. And now it's okay, we're gonna put up a double rows of screening and so on, so you don't see solar, but you aren't gonna see that view across either. So you lose that aspect of it.
There's going to be some
Set aside
set aside of
equal acreage on a different parcel. Should an easement that would prevent.
You set it aside, but it isn't.
Doesn't mean
It
it's going to
doesn't-
be
it's
farmed.
not right, but it
Correct.
doesn't thoroughly replace the soil or the view that would be affected.
Yeah.
And that's that particular spot. Do we find people stopping there to enjoy that view
Sweet Road.
in
There's a
that
lot.
particular spot?
There's a lot of people that travel Sweet Road.
And one of our issues on Sweet Road is the speed they travel Sweet Road. I don't think they're sightseers. I'm just saying, if we had if we had an overlook there, if we had a pull off where you could get out and look, but I don't think that's the case in that location. That's just my very humble opinion. All of my opinions are quite humble. You don't have to put that down.
Especially with those towers there.
Absolutely.
So probably their label covers are not in the area that says to protect the view shed.
I know, but they're there. They're there. So, you know, you see the windmills when you're up on, you know, Pompey Hill.
I mean, I think you or someone else can make a motion. I see two different possible motions. See if we can get a second on one of the motions. One of them would probably be that there isn't enough of a change from the last findings. So, you know, that recommendation that this is not the appropriate area for the overlay, or the other one was yes, based on some of the things we talked about before.
And one of the things we did when we put the solar law in effect is we did look at the fact that there were areas that you couldn't do it. You couldn't have solar because of the infrastructure, number one, or the view shed. So it really limited. And we knew that when we put the law together, that there was a limited amount of space to put this. So I would make a motion that we.
Actually, I kind of scratched one together this afternoon.
Then you go for it, pal.
It's kind of taken off of your David's last one. I just threw it together to save some time, but it reads, the planning board recommends that the parcel tax ID 012-01-3.1 on which Pivot Energy's Tier 3 solar community solar project is intended for its pending application be added to the solar overlay zone with the following findings and conditions. The applicant must meet the requirements for limiting the project to no more than 50% of prime farmland, unique farmland, or farmland of statewide significance on the parcel. It is noted that in addition to meeting these requirements, the participating landowner has agreed to set aside acreage equivalent in size and quality in an agricultural easement to mitigate potential impacts on farmland in the town. The applicant has also shifted the array, quote, or parentheses, compared to their previous application to reduce the number of acres considered prime farmland by approximately 25% compared to its previous application. Number two, the configuration as currently shown provides some natural buffers to adjoining properties and Sweet Road. A screening plan will supplement the natural vegetation. Number three, setback and maximum coverages appear to be met by the preliminary plan. Number four, it's been noted that the site is located in the scenic view shed as identified in the Town of Pompey master plan. However, it appears that through existing vegetation supplemented by a screening plan, the view shed issue is mitigatable. It should be noted that towers are also in that view shed currently. And I agree too, they're not in the view shed, but they're in the background of the view shed. So a number of towers are in the background of that view shed.
Which is the view shed.
I was looking at it from Heritage Hill. Number five, this application appears to meet the spirit of the solar local law as it has been written. Number six, the board acknowledges that there is concern regarding the reduction of prime farmland soils, both in our state and in our town. Number seven, the local law provides that if this matter is granted solar overlay zone approval from the town board, will be referred back to the planning board for site plan review, where these issues will be further addressed, subject to final engineering and legal review.
I second the motion.
The motion, and we have a second. Discussion. No further discussion, we will do a roll call vote. Start with John.
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
Sue, no. Carl.
No. Yes.
Deb.
Yes.
And Roy.
Yes.
5-2 in favor of recommending this to the town board.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Get your guys' names again.
Yep. Hi. See you.
Thanks.
That was too easy.
Yeah.
Martin.
I thought I threw them out.
Mark Chambers, it's CNS Engineers. Here representing Lockheed Martin. For their project they'd like to construct, it's a 1,008 square foot building that's going to house their laser program that they'd like to get started. There's a laser system training facility and testing facility as well too. This building's going to be located. There's, I don't know how many times if you have been out the site, there's this big concrete wall that basically runs north and south. Along the property, this looks to the east, towards Cas. There's an existing building right here, right now, there's a old radar foundation system. It basically sits right in that same footprint where this building is proposed. That's got to come down, torn down, and basically construct this 2 by 24 foot building in that area. Building is 21 feet tall to the peak. It's a single story building, actually close to the elevation. Building's trying to get the same look of the other buildings that are there, similar matching siding. There's a big stone 4 foot high around the bottom, all the way around the bottom of it. It basically following the same look that's out there right now. Same color scheme. And you see these windows here, this little panel here, the lasers that'll be shooting across the way over to the east side are located in these areas. And there's shrouds that when they're testing these, that keep that laser beam basically at the target that it has to go to, basically shields any direct laser beam from not acting. Basically, it keeps it for target.
I'm okay walking my dog up there.
Yes, you are. Yes.
That's the eastern.
Yes, that'd be the eastern.
Problem, is that why they have to do that?
They basically know that the laser that they use, you're good up to 15 feet up to it without any harm to your skin or anything like that. But they just do that for a safety precaution to keep it so it doesn't go awry. Yeah, I got some information on this actually. Let's see. Basically, they have this is part of their write-up that they provided. The laser says the laser systems under test are low power, non-destructive, and meet IEC 60825 standards for skin hazard within 15 feet of the system. It's all low power. I'm gonna guess. I don't know that much about the system itself as far as how it operates and functions, but it could be. I don't know.
Side, but what's the other side across the valley? What are they aiming at?
There's actually part of a project that we did next year. They actually added some additional target sites over on the east side, on the town Cat side. John's pretty familiar with them. We're actually out there a couple of weeks ago. We'd be using those sites that are out there to target the laser beam too.
Don't want to be bothered.
Nothing, depends on which dog I'm knocking.
Right, that's something too with this chart that they provided. And it's all up 500-600 feet above ground surface down in the valley areas. And those shrouds help prevent that from being a straight safe shot.
I was wondering on the east side, how far away from the property line is this building? I couldn't find it on the.
Yes.
Yes.
We need to see the context of the whole site.
Yeah,
Right.
I couldn't find any measurement on there as far as
Yeah, but actually the property line is down the hill quite a ways down the.
Okay,
And we're up on top of the pavement area. Well, there's that big concrete.
well, I
wall.
saw the concrete wall there. That's not the property line. right?
No, it's actually down further below.
Okay,
Below the
that's-
hill. Quite a ways away.
So Mark, can we get a map showing so you over the parcel and where all your buildings?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because I was thinking, where does Windy Hill Road come?
Way up in here. Yeah.
Okay.
The lane was,
It says 5 feet. That's wrong. I'm thinking, well, that could be,
Okay.
making sure.
I thought part of our submission. I thought there was,
last time around, we asked for it to be changed to lane and you had to get to know me on it. Yes, but it's the identity crisis of Donna Pompey and Emmanuel's mailing address, then.
Or it could just change the name of the road.
part of that package, I thought there was an overall. Site map that showed the neighborhood.
I didn't see it.
No, it may show some of the neighboring property, but it didn't show all of your parcel and where all the buildings and structures. And the globes are placed on.
Okay. Thank you, I'll get that.
Just clarifying, is your bathroom in the building?
There is not,
No.
the water, no.
Your lighting?
There is exterior lighting. Over the doorway. Wall pack. Here, here, basically there's down lighting.
I would direct it shielded and dark sky compliant.
Yes. Yep.
Any kind of screening and just get onto.
Extreme. No.
Tree room.
No tree removal, it's all in pavement, it's all,
So you're actually removing some extra blacktop that's there too.
we are removing blacktop, we're removing an old abandoned radar. Foundation system, actually the tower as well too, that's there, that's coming down. Back in that same spot.
Questions on those? Hearing none, next month's public hearing.
Hearing next month, that's my next question. Go back to what you guys were talking about earlier, Barry. Gotta notify. people in the area, right?
And the 1,000 feet.
Any special,
Amy, you want to go over that again?
Yeah, you'll send a postcard or send a letter. The wording Sarah will give you and an affidavit that you sent it.
And you won't send me one because I'm the first house, I'm just outside the line, but I know,
are you really? You're just okay?
yeah, but I already know about it, so it's okay.
Can't be that many in this list.
All right, there's not, actually, we made the list up already, there's not a lot.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses on the street and I going down the hill.
There it is.
Say one or two down.
Yeah, down the bottom of the hill. Yes,
That's where the properties.
So this austerity is coming from CNS and not Lockheed.
CNS usually sends it out, it'll be on their behalf. Well, then, yes. The austerity budget.
They're already at you.
This sounds so much better being out in the country and living on a lane.
Next time, I think we're gonna be in the town of Coffee is what they.
Yes, and we need sound.
Yeah, that's not better.
Yeah.
Questions?
Nope.
You're gonna keep the guy in the road happy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
On the agenda is American Tower site plan review. Preliminary site plan review on a proposed construction of a standby 80 kilowatt diesel generator system. Automatic transfer switch, generator auxiliary power distribution and remote monitoring communications circuitry for communication tower tenants. This is groundwork only. It's located at 7209 Sevier Road, Evansville, 3078. XID on the parcel is 010.03-48.1. I understand that our representative is joining us. Via Zoom.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, speak up a little bit, but yes.
Oh,
There we go. There we go. That's it.
okay. Hi, yes.
State your name.
Hi, I'm Amy Nakora. I work with Qualtech Wireless. We're doing this permit application on behalf of T-Mobile and American Tower. We are just trying to do a shared tenant program where they have a backup generator and they're adding it to the existing cell tower site. I'll be honest, this is one of my first meetings. I'm not sure what else, what other information you guys need me to provide.
Okay, well, someone's gonna be answering our questions.
I have a question. How big is the generator? Like, no, like physically.
Let's see.
I wanted to start with a really hard question for you.
Thank you. Oof. You're right. That is a really hard question. Ooh.
1x6 is the pad. Oh, here's the pad.
It looks to be about 5 feet wide. I'm sorry, 5 feet long, wide.
Okay, so the pad's 8x6. Okay, and how tall is the generator?
I'm sorry?
The height. Oh, here's the. Here, right? This is the height of the end bit.
Maybe 7 feet
Okay, so about 7 feet off grade. Yeah, okay.
and 5 feet wide.
5 feet wide. All right.
You showed a tank, about 1,000-gallon diesel fuel tank that was going in. I didn't see that on the site plan. Can you tell me where that's located?
Is this the tank? Yeah. That's a big gate up there.
Some of the modern generators have a self-contained fuel tank inside the whole footprint.
Yeah, it sits on top of the tank.
With a dual wall containment.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's all kind of in one package.
And that's the case in this one? It looks like it.
It's hard to tell, but I think I imagine it is.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
And that's something we should get clarified.
I know if it's integral to it, it's got secondary containment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's, either way, whether it's separate, if it's integral or separate, it has to have secondary.
And based on the capacity, it has to be registered.
Depends on the storage, but probably.
I think it's over 1,100 gallons.
Yes.
It has to be registered
Right.
as 1154.
Right.
Okay. But that's their issue, not really ours.
Is there an existing generator in operation there?
Not to my knowledge, no. No.
Okay, what is the noise decibel level that whole generator would give off?
Along with that is what is the exercise frequency? When is it programmed to go on? And how long, how often?
Well, yeah, it'll be, do a self-test probably once in a while, yeah.
And so what are the decibel readings? Because you've got some neighboring houses there that aren't that far away. If they're
Yeah.
not used to having a generator being exercised, this would be a new Experience for them.
Yeah,
So this is probably gonna wanna test itself at least once a week.
Usually it's once a week, that's usually how their program. Their exercise.
So we wanna be able to probably pick time of day.
And also just to know what decibel output is when it being exercised.
But I would imagine there's.
The new noise. We let her know what we're saying.
Well, we should give her a list. right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I know you guys are chatting. I don't know that
Well,
she's
I'm
hearing.
curious.
So is there any additional lighting that will be accompanied with this?
No, ma'am.
Pardon me?
No, no, ma'am.
yeah, so Generac will probably have that information on the decibel level and how many times it tests itself and for how long.
Yeah, I think it's really. Because I have one. I don't even think about it anymore. Somebody hadn't heard it before, they jump out of their skin.
That's why we asked if there was a generator there now. If there was, they'd be used to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It has to roar so much, but it's got a muffler on it, but.
I don't think. It wants to make itself known.
Yeah, I guess so.
Being exercised.
That you know it's working.
Be careful, Roy. We may have to send code enforcement down and check it out.
Yeah, I guess I better be careful what I say.
So this, just clarifying, this is on an area that's already cleared.
Yes,
It's within a fenced area.
yes, sir.
Okay. Wood chain fence with 2 strands of barbed wire. Steel fuel from that.
Sinking everything that we.
Will this have a cover over it, like a roof or anything, or it just sits out on its own?
It just sits out on its own.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
That's the guys.
We have maybe a list and then let her know. We can do the public hearings next. Questions to be answered and how to send out the notices.
Yes.
Yeah. We answered, there's no more already cleared. We don't need that. There is no existing generator, so this is a new one going into an already cleared area. We're looking for how often will this be exercised?
Okay.
The fuel storage, internal or separate.
It
If
shows
it's
on the
over.
drawings, it's internal. It sits
It
on
is.
top of the fuel tank, yeah.
Okay. Exercise when, how often, and what the decibel level is of the running generator.
Okay.
It said there is no additional lighting necessary.
No, this is, since it's unmanned, anyone who comes out there would probably be coming out during daylight.
And there would be a fuel delivery at some point as it goes down, so that's probably during the day when a representative would be there for a fuel delivery.
Yes.
Our code does require a public hearing on this. So we would schedule a public hearing for October 16th. Somewhere in here.
Yeah.
We'll have to be in touch with Sarah, our secretary, who's next to me. That notices, the notices that will have to go out and an affidavit back to us that they have signed.
Okay.
Did you have anything else? Any notes from the board? You have any other questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so again, get in touch with Sarah. He will send it to you.
Okay.
Notices what needs to be sent out and a sample letter that you can use. Okay. And October 16th, I'm assuming that you'll be Zooming again that night?
Yes.
Okay. All right, if there's any questions, let us know. We thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Here it is. I got it. Yeah.
I'll let you know in a minute.
Okay, I do have one other. Topic. The name that keeps coming around, the Hoopnik decision that was rendered. So they're there and they're attempting to start the new roadway. And they discovered there is a utility pole in the way, yes.
Yeah, right in the center.
So,
This is the one on Brookfield Falls?
Yeah.
yes, so BR has looked at it. And yes, the roadway could be moved and the proposal is to move it. And I'm not even sure because I've not seen a map or anything, to decide further away from the pole. We've asked for a map on what they're proposing and basically the question is, or the issue is because they're changing the placement of the road and then that changes lot values, road frontage, so on.
Well, it was a concern for that neighbor across the street too.
That was a concern, yeah. So we've asked for a map, they come here next month or
I mean. Yeah, I mean, they obviously can't put it where they want to put it. So I think it is something that has to come before this board again for a modification. So I think we need an actual map. Would be the direction that we need to give to them. The actual revised map of exactly where.
With existing telephone poles.
Well, yeah, shows where the telephone poles are.
I asked for that today.
And a reminder, Tim, of they did not want it directly across from the neighboring house.
Correct. Yeah, I talked to BR about it. I think he did fight a little bit down there. And it's still far enough away from the house. He was okay with that. But obviously it has to.
Wonder what the process would be to ask National Grid if they could move the pole to the left or right.
Spencer.
They said it would possibly.
So there's two scenarios here. If they're only gonna shift the driveway or the roadway like 10 feet, that could all happen within the 60-foot right of way. The road would just be slightly off center. But if they're moving it more than that, where the whole right of way has to change, then it changes all the lot frontages and everything has to be re-described again. And we just don't know which of those two scenarios it is. Sometimes you can just move a road 5 to 10 feet and avoid a pole. I don't know. We don't know how severe the relocation needs to be. So it may be something pretty simple. without a major change, if it's a small move.
And if it's that simple, would it have to come before us?
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
If it's all within that 60-foot right of way,
It doesn't change with the subdivision plan that you guys approved.
Right,
is that what we approve 60 feet?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Have you seen it? Is it something that can be just,
We haven't seen it.
We haven't seen that.
I mean, you haven't gone out there?
Just BR.
Just be all
I've
right.
been down there other times. I can't tell without.
Yeah. All right, so we'll just find out if it's just a couple of feet, they can just do it without coming here. Excellent.
They're gonna get acquainted with Rob.
Makes everybody more.
Did these get passed out?
Okay, before
We
we,
have.
before we close, these are the full copy of the last meeting's minutes. The one that you got handy before was every other page.
I read it on my device.
So,
But I didn't see John's version.
That's what I look for all the time.
The only thing I saw was that it was approved in the first paragraph. It was approved a few minutes before the motion was made. And that probably should be corrected. Maybe it is, you know. Grade at 6:38.
I wouldn't know what I was saying.
That's a motion. Every block, wouldn't it?
no, I think the motion to accept the minutes, but I think because we went, meeting called order 6:44 and then 6:48 or 6 and. Motion carried probably.
Catch on that, right? Absolutely, yeah. This is the newest one.
How about, were we approving the minutes from live?
From August.
So in the minute, in these new minutes, so
Right, we're
Yes.
probably approving the previous month's
Yes,
minutes.
yes. I guess the question is, do you want to take the time now and read through these? Or?
Make a motion.
Sit here and do it.
We just do it next time?
We can. We can do it next time.
Perfect.
I would like to say that that the timeframe within which to appeal this decision is in the record as August 29th on a 30-day timeframe, so this won't be officially passed, but you also don't have to officially, pass it.
So 60 days from August 29th,
30.
30.
So it might be a good idea to have these in place.
Or should we sit here now and go through them and get it?
I guess I would.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. If anybody's watching, we're reading.
that's sleeping.
Cross pages.
I know I did read it before. Haven't been served with anything yet, Jamie?
Not yet. I've had inquiries.
Oh, really? You think we will?
To say that I thought whether I know Jamie as well, and I know Sue was. And who else? Did a splendid job of drawing up the order of the meeting and was delivered, it wasn't up. Meeting at the audience was involved in or was able to speak at, but we did learn some things. Both on Dan Aldino. Before he gets a CEO. I'll see with that. And he will be too. But you never know.
Dan has a habit of promising a lot. I know because I'm his neighbor. Very well done.
Let's include the official resolution.
Yes.
Well,
Got it.
You may think this is trivial. Page 2, when I asked if the USDA inspector has to be present during smoking of the facility.
I didn't just.
Everybody lights up and gotta have
Got a cigar, you need to use
Working beats, right?
Just making any changes. Well, I have to take these ones and then have these. Yep. It takes the call now.
He's. It's my. That's why it's like, whoa. Blowing right.
Decibel go up. Source. We go.
Yeah. Secret word.
You know, because I didn't know. Even if it was. It's the longest thing. This is the level. And I hit that, bounce it back.
So I guess you could do that. And our side of the plan, but it needs to be done with directed at field.
It's Lindsay Garcia.
I wanted to do that guy.
He's talking. I call him. That's what I always know.
Our side. He would have been okay. It's years.
So that's why. So that's why one person. Seems like that seems to be.
Oh, okay.
What's it needs to probably can't. Like, well,
I could go get a fire. So down here. Under his rest of the rescue and it's really asked her to get that board on it.
Oh, they did?
I think that couple. I'm sure there's something. Sit on my plane, I know the boys that only need one meeting.
Right.
obviously, it's still fantastic, is it fun thing, right?
Yeah. That's it, you need to-
These are two siding. I wonder if I can find it on the single page.
Yeah.
I don't remember saying that.
But
On this end, have any?
I just want to know what John came up with.
That's what we're all waiting for, is what John came up with.
For Grammar Hall.
Yeah. Speed reading at this point.
With the pressure, you feel it?
So. Yeah. That's right.
I had a couple things in there that the spell check when she tried to put in RE. Colon, it would take the colon out, so it just said read. Just spell out regarding. Clarification that it's smoking means.
Did you write them?
Yeah.
I'll have to smoke them then.
Just a little type.
Minor smoking.
Typos.
Grammatical.
Yeah, I wrote on it.
John did find. A couple has to do with grammatical type.
So you could just do a motion to approve subject to typos.
He's corrected them.
Yeah, there's nothing substantial.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from August of 2023,
August 21st.
August 20th.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from the August 21st, 2023 meeting. The grammatical corrections, clarifications in it. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. I thank everyone for all their efforts and contributions and inputs and things. It was a good meeting. Adjourned.
Make a motion. I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.